I came up in the restaurant industry, hardworking. My favorite thing about restaurant employees is they're a little bit like realtors, and I hope that resonates well. But realtors and restaurant personnel, they work for their money. They normally don't get paid unless service is delivered and the person's happy. So I really like the hunger that you find in a lot of restaurant people, and that really resonated with me. So I did the restaurant thing for 12 years, ended up learning a lot about people. Nothing's better than learning from someone yelling, screaming in your face, talking about food, whatever it might be, and you just really get to learn a lot about their emotions. I would say I almost became an emotional expert while doing this. When I decided to leave, I was like, I'm just going to do it. Any industry will work for me. And I just sat unemployed for 9 weeks, and I applied to every job I thought I could do. And if you know me, I think I could do every job. So there was a lot of resumes that went out. I got lucky, and I got found by this company called Clever Investor. They actually educate people on how to invest in real estate. And I was an assistant, literally grabbing coffee for people. And opening doors and just taking notes and just doing anything. I was out of the restaurant industry and I was happy. Let's see where this next life was going to take me. I was making a third of the money. Didn't even matter. I was just so happy that I was proving to myself that my skill set could take me further. 8 months goes by. Before I know it, I become an executive at Clever Investor, running their mentorship program that teaches people how to invest in real estate. Now, with me, I still don't really invest in real estate. That's where the story's going to go. But I'm a system, process, and service expert. And so when I got to Clever, I was really all about the student, and I was focusing on their perception and their comprehension of our educational materials. And as a restaurant manager, I probably trained 2,000 people in my life. The turnover rate's so high, I did it for so long. And you get really good at it. And it's not, the thing about being in that kind of role is you just remove obstacles. I actually call them obstacles as a joke. My team doesn't like me because I have really funny things that I say like that. So I call them obstacles. I've never come across anything ever in my life that had me go, not going to do it. That's stopping me from completing what I want to do. That's never happened to me in my life. So I get with this team, and things go great at Clever. I systematize their entire process. I learn even more about my craft, which is people, because now there's a lot of money on it. It's not just an $8 burger, right? It's like a $30,000 educational course. It's a totally new world. And I'll tell you, if I cared about that $8 burger, I really cared about their investment in our company. And it really meant a lot to me to be there for them. So after Clever happened for a while, I systematized everything, and I went to the CEO and I said, let me work from home. I don't even have to be here anymore. I did such a great job systematizing this. Let me work from home. I want to invest in real estate. I got the bug. So he says, okay, somehow it must have been a golden pitch, because to let your boss go home and work and then pursue your dream, which is entrepreneurship, is amazing. And I really, this all really is thankful to him. So he said, yes, I go home, I start cold calling 6 hours a day. I was horrible. Actually, I've recorded my first 21 days straight. I'm a nut when it comes to performance. And when I decide to do something, I decide to do it. So I go in here, I record 21 days. The first call, the second call, the worst calls, they were so bad. I didn't even know what I was saying. They're amazing. I actually send them to my team now whenever someone does a good job. I'm like, good job. You unlocked this really bad video of me talking, because I really want them to see where I came from. So I studied what I did, and I watched myself back, and I was so bad, and my notes sucked so bad, and there were so many things that I did wrong. And really, it's not even about your mouth. I tell my team right now, the worse you are, the better off you are, and as long as you're asking the right questions. If that person wants to sell, they're going to talk to you, period. And if they don't, they're not. You can kind of tell their motivation. The worse you are, if they're still talking, they're pretty motivated, right? But at the same time, it's really up to them. Now, it's the right questions and just doing it. It really is eagerness. But, I'm making these calls, and I learned a lot. My notes were so bad. I lost like 10 leads just off saying the wrong thing, right off the bat. Hey, but bam, and it's even my own follow-up. Hey, we spoke the other day about, excuse me? No, I don't think so, bam. And I was like, I was right at the gate. You almost got me in there. And these are lessons I had to learn. And I was taking this serious. I'm now working from home at Clever. I decided we cut my pay in half, and I wanted that because I wanted to be pushed to make this. I only work under pressure. I think we all do. You know, I mean, if my parents still let me live there, I'd probably still be making 10 bucks an hour. Living with my parents, and probably living the same life I got now, you know, as far as percentage goes, you know. So, you know, we really got to put ourselves under pressure. So I just decided to do this. I'm taking it so seriously. Everything means so much. And I didn't even realize all the notes I lost till I watched the videos back. And I'm watching these videos and I'm going, where'd that lead go? I'm searching my CRM. That was a good lead. Where'd that go? I used to get a good lead and get up and celebrate and totally walk away and just leave it. And then it would, I swear, it disappear. I had one lead. The way my system worked is if they hung up and you didn't click a button over 10 minutes, it disappeared and defaulted out and didn't save anything that you did. I remember one time I got so excited. It was my first lead. I was like, yes, oh my God. I called my business partner. I was like, I got a lead. I go back. It was gone. I had to call the guy and have the whole conversation over again. It was like, this is embarrassing. We got to do this again. And I did that for a reason. Because, you know, when I was in the restaurant industry and I didn't do my job properly, and someone left and someone else had to work harder, they never cleaned up my mess ever in my life. I was like, no, I got you. And the team was like, no, you don't have to do that. No, if you don't want this to happen again, you're going to want me to clean up my own mess right now. And I do those things for me. So even my team now, when they don't get good notes, call them back, man. Enjoy. So really easy. It's not even a punishment, right? It's just a lesson you're learning while making it right. So anyways, over time, I realized that because of the way I take care of things that the restaurant industry taught me, I don't know if you guys ever worked in one, but how much paper towels you receive matters. You guys ever walk into a restaurant and it's automated, and you go to the towel thing and it goes, and you're like, I can't dry my hands with that. Yeah, that's the manager doing that, okay? They can actually control how much paper you receive. So when you go by and you're like, why aren't they giving us napkins at this restaurant? That's the manager doing that. Paper cost, water cost, electric cost, there's not a single line on that P&L in the restaurant industry that does not matter. So I took that and I placed it onto lead generation. And I realized, number one thing, it's more management than generation. The leads I send you guys aren't even as relevant as what you're doing with them. What have you done with them? Where are you putting them? What's happening to them once they're put there? Are they disappearing? Are we not sufficient where maybe if I put something, I do it with my keys every time I go home. Where do my keys go? Really? I mean, think about like these leads, what they mean to us, how much money they can actually generate. And the truth is, I call them lottery tickets, but they hit more often than lottery tickets do. That's the interesting thing. And then you just got to scratch a little bit harder, and you just got to make sure you don't lose it. You know, it's an interesting thing what a lead is. So what I developed was a 6-touch follow-up system based on different day parts of the day. I knew that if I called you never more than once a day, because I don't want you to answer upset, okay? But if I called you at 3 different times of the day, 8 to noon, noon to 4, 4 to 8, and I called you twice in each one of those day parts, which is what we call them, and you don't answer, I'm probably not going to get you on the phone. That's a fair compromise for me to make. So I came up with a system that automatically did this, automatically follows up. The dialer I use has an algorithm I can put in to ensure that this system happens. And what it does is it increases contact rate. I was finding at the end of this system, if you will, that 40 to 65% of the phone numbers on that list were contacted. You know, whether they were the right person or had motivation or was a lead was irrelevant. Why? Because it's a numbers game. This is a contact sport, not a dial sport. How many of us get a lead and we call it once and they don't answer? Right? That's human nature. I would say that's what everyone does. When I tell people I call multiple times, they go, "You do? That's crazy." You know, and then we call multiple times for different reasons. How many of you guys are having a bad day? You know, I mean, I was in the restaurant industry, and I remember when somebody would snap at me, you know, or be rude. Now, I'd be like, "Man, that person's having a rough day today," you know. And because that's what that is. Every time someone's going through something. So even when my team gets yelled at and they say wrong number, I tell them to put it as a no answer. Let's call them back at a different time. You know, we don't know. They're going through something right now. Because wrong number to us basically means do not contact. So I don't want to scrub anyone off the list just yet, just because they're having a bad day. Again, that lead needs to be treated properly, you know. And how many of us? I don't got time for this. You know, you're ringing my phone. Don't. A wrong number. How many of you just default to that anyways? You know, So we had this huge contact rate. My first month in this, I did 7,000 dials. I had 7 properties under contract. I had 52 follow-up leads, and then I had 48 leads that I was actually working. I realized very quickly I had to stop dialing every day. but I was just so driven. I was like dialing too many fresh dials. It was time to go back now, right? It's kind of like when you're digging for gold, and then you're just so focused on the hole, and you turn around, and all the gold's right behind you, you know. And I was like, oh man, I got everything I need right here. And so I started diving into those leads. This generation, now what happened was not a single deal closed out of those 7 contracts, okay? And that was a real bummer. But that was my partner side of things. I was on the lead gen side. And I kind of let him flounder a little bit. You know, I hate to say that, but you know, I was working for Clever. I kind of had my safety net, and I wanted to see if my partner was capable of being my partner, and if he could perform in what I asked him and what we agreed he would do. And that may sound a little weird, but I decided not to ask a lot of questions about these contracts. But what I did decide to do afterwards was understand the results that we both achieved, and then I opened up a lead generation company. Because I was like, you know what, I can do this. I've trained people for 16 years in the restaurant industry to be just as good as me in almost every position. And I'd be foolish to think that I was special only 1 month in with those results when I wasn't even that good. So I knew immediately that I could duplicate this. I then made a post. You wouldn't believe the talent that I've received. Now, everyone's American, and I think that that's what is really throwing people for a loop. Everyone wants to hire someone overseas. Everyone wants to get that. But I ask everyone this. You pay to have the phone number in the area code that's local, right? Yeah, I do. But the person's in the other country? Like, these people are already skeptical when they pick up the phone. And now local, foreign, you know, you're creating less integrity for your company right off the bat. You know, so we have all American cold callers. I pay my people $15 an hour. That is a lot of money. And what happens as a result of it is we get great results. And I've got great talent. You know, and I've just been so impressed with the people that will come out and really do this for me. Now, I really believe my secret sauce isn't so much what I know or where I've been and all that stuff. I think my secret sauce is the environment I create for the people that I hire. You know, everyone that works for me works from the comfort of their own home. There's no schedule other than training with me, which happens once a week. And then other than that, they can work whenever they want within the legal bounds to call, 8 to 8. And that means that the people that call for you or my clients only want to be calling. No one has to be calling. It's a pure option to work for me. And I think that that's the secret sauce. We get so many leads. It is ridiculous. And I think it's because the person who's working for you wants to be working for you. And I think that that is really, you know, the biggest secret that I've got that I could just share with you guys. It's the comfort I provided. It's the thing I framed. Now, I'm a real stickler when it comes to details and quality and you being taken care of and all those other things. But I also train those things really well, so it's not too much of a concern. And I also work on creating an environment where it is a lot. We do a lot. And I remember that when I was in the restaurant industry for so long, I figured out there were 2 cultures in this world. There's either a great culture and it pushes out shitty people, or there's a shitty culture and it pushes out great people. There's always one of those 2 things happening. And I remember when I had people show up and work for me and they'd quit on their first day, there was no greater compliment to my staff than someone going, I can't do this, and walking out. These guys work way too hard for me. And so that's what I kind of create, because I go over all these details, guys, all these things are mandatory, and it's like people know if they can handle it or not. And the beauty of it is because they only work when they want to, those who don't work don't even get the opportunity to work. You know, so I've got a really unique employment opportunity for people. It's been great, you know, single mothers, families, multiple kids, and I think that that's a big part of it. So you mix that with a lot of the emotions that we've had from the restaurant industry to the education that we've had from my Clever investor time, and then now going into this front, it's really just been, you know, explosive, to say the least. Right now, as far as lead generation goes, to give you guys some numbers, we have roughly an 11% contact ratio on my skip trace service that's provided to you. So you guys know real numbers. My whole company's founded off of them. It does produce one number. It's a best number, if you will, rather than a bunch. So the skip trace service, we have 11% contact ratio on the dials that we make, and that includes repeat calls. So we have 11% contact ratio across the board, so including up to the 6-time dial. And I think that's what's important, because if you do the math and we contact 10% every time we dial, you do it 5 or 6 times, you're at 60% of the list. It starts to multiply your results. And then we have actually an 11 to 13% lead generation ratio. All right, so now that means that of those 11% people that pick up the phone, 11 to 13% of them turn into a lead. Now, I am optimistic on what the word lead means, of course, right? I wouldn't be in lead generation if I wasn't. But I think that we all need to be optimistic to what the word lead means. I will tell you that the more optimism you go into a lead with, the better results you're going to get regardless of what's really happening with that lead. I can tell you that just like everything else, if you go in, you're going to get results. All right? So I really recommend, I remember me and my business partner, he'd go, hey, tell me about this house. Then he'd go, lie to me. I don't care. I'm about to go on the phone call, make the offer, lie to me about how motivated they are. Because it doesn't even matter. Your offer is your offer, right? That's it. You're not going to take it whatever less than what you're going to take it at, period. You know, and so like in our case, it was like, well, it's not like we're going to buy a house we don't agree to the price to. So get my mindset right. And so like one thing we really try to do is provide you guys with like optimistic mindset notes. You know, I tell my team, hey, you know, look in there, find the gems that they can go off of. Kind of let them, when you guys read the notes, you feel good about the lead. You know, because it's important not to write but and ands and like all these negative things because that turns us off. And the truth is we never know. Like I always tell my team, like whenever we'd make an offer and someone would say no, and I go, we don't know what they're going through. I don't even know what my dad's going through. Okay, because he's got walls up around him. Why would I think that this seller would really open up like a can of worms to me? And if I've got an offer in their inbox and, you know, maybe one night they're crying over their keyboard because the mortgage bill just came in and they're about to take the house. I don't know. They didn't tell me that. But I don't have to know. You know, that's how optimistic I am. That there's like, you know what, there's an opportunity here. There's an opportunity everywhere. And, you know, one thing I'd say that with our cold calling, you know, in the current, which is right now it's wholesaling based, and Troy and I were actually developing this week. I'm grabbing my best guy, we're huddling up, and we're literally going to create what does no cold calling look like for us. And I'm so excited to do it because, you know, I keep my commitments simple so that way I can keep them. But like I have like 3 commitments, right? We're going to make the dials, we're going to be extremely well trained, and we're going to have some of the best tools out there. You know, and we're going to learn how to use all those things. You know, and the way it works is, so the whole system, let's say, the way the whole system would work would be if someone was interested, they'd come in, hey, here's my list, can you skip trace it? We skip trace it. My whole system's a la carte. A lot of people think that, you know, it only goes in bad. I'm not that guy. You know, you don't have to use, I'm not monopolizing my space, if you will. But you can use anything a la carte, and then you give us a list. Now, what we do is I've got this incredible dialer. It is just amazing. I created an algorithm around it that allows me to follow up effortlessly, so I don't have to manage it too much. I just have to show up and dial. I then upload your list, plug in the algorithm, and then we start going. We've got a great script. You know, right now it's mainly based for investors, and it's also very profitable for real estate agents. But then, you know, we just go in. And now at the end of the day, all leads get sent out to everyone the same day that they were generated. I always say I've got one VA and he doesn't touch a telephone. You know, he just handles my data. So he goes in every night, delivers all the leads to everyone, and it's a week-to-week basis. So we dial Saturday to Fridays, and at Friday of every day, your campaign, if you will, has been completed. What we do is we do 500 dials per week for people, and since we have a 6 contact ratio, the way the numbers kind of work out is I would say roughly 100 phone numbers is about a week's worth of work. You know, is the way I would do it. Now, I always recommend in our business that we start with a pool of at least 1,000, because when you're dialing 500 dials a week, if there's a high contact ratio, we're actually going through them very quickly, like higher than normal. But with a pool of 1,000 phone numbers, we can really get a bunch of fresh people in there too. And the way the system works is like a drip campaign on dialing, where it calls redials, it calls fresh people, it like mixes them all in every day. So that way there's a constant pool of freshness as well as people being called back. It's a pretty interesting system. Anyone have any questions? Yeah, the contact ratio and stuff? Absolutely. So right now we're having an 11% contact ratio on dials made. And then from that, we're generating an 11 to 13% lead generation ratio.
Is that just in the note industry?
Oh, it's currently in real estate investing. So let's say wholesaling, distressed sellers, I'll tell you guys what those leads are, just to give you more clarity on what I'm calling a lead. So there's 4 different kinds of leads that we generate. The first one is like a motivated seller, someone who said, motivated seller, excuse me. And now, why we say how much or how little motivation is irrelevant. You know, I can control a lot. Someone else's motivation to sell is not one of the things I'm in control of. But a motivated seller, someone who says, yes, I've considered selling. Yes, I've got motivation. And then there is another one, which is a future follow-up. This is someone who has considered selling, but they're not ready at the time. And we get future follow-up, yep. And then, so there's someone who has considered selling, isn't at the time, but they do take down the phone number. You know, I always say we're marketing one at a time. So when I'm calling on your guys' behalf, one thing we do is I try to get everyone to take down your direct line. Well, look, in case anything changes, let me give you my phone number. Me or my partner, Chris, will answer the phone. Let's say your name's Chris. You know, it's the way we word it. We come in as your partners. You know, we don't come in as a company cold calling on your behalf. We come in as like, look, we're an executive representing over here, you know, and we're trained to, I tell my team, remember, you're the money. You know, so like they try to keep this air about them, but I say you got to be confident but vulnerable, because how many people will tell the money their life problems, right? So like not a lot. So, you know, you can't come in too hard, and you have to like leave that's like the emotional side of things that I train on. But so future follow-up, and then there is like a buyer or a wholesaler, someone who says, yeah, I've considered buying, and the last one would be like a realtor or a tradesperson. These are what people I consider leads. Because of my time at Clever, I look at these things like as an optimistic, and I know that they can build someone's business. Some people say, well, I don't want that lead. Okay, well, they pick up the phone. You want me to just hang up on them? I mean, I will. If that's really, I'll just hang up. Oh, you're a realtor? No, click. You know, but I think that we should look at every relationship and everything. And I don't even mean what I send you. I mean everything. This conference, everything is an opportunity. You know, and if we're too busy telling ourselves no everywhere, we're the one limiting ourselves. Guys, I was chasing a wholesale check, and I fell into this company. I've got over 38 clients right now. I've been doing it for 5 months. I've been officially incorporated for 6 weeks, you know, and I wasn't even looking for this. So, like, if you guys treat the leads the way I treated this company when I created it, and just be open to the opportunity that anything you come across can take you, you're going to really do well.
How do you handle the leads? How do you give them back to us? What form? Email?
Yeah, so everything comes emailed at the end of the day. Generally, it will come like in a PDF. What I want to get to is I'm still learning a lot of stuff the hard way, you know. So I'm open to suggestion. But, you know, so what I really want to do is I think one of the better things that I can do is supply a Google Sheets file, and my VA, it be shared, my VA go in, date, and then enter in all those same dates. So name, city, state, address, phone number, notes. You know what I mean? And so that way you would get an email that instead of said, here's your PDF with all these notes, you'd get an email that said, your Google Sheets file has been updated with 3 leads today. You know, so that's one thing I'm thinking about changing.
Do you have the ability to transfer live calls?
Yes,
Okay.
I do. You know, I say that is I mean, if people are ready, you know, we can definitely explore that. You know, right now, the way we do the handoff, just so you guys know, it's a great point. Let me talk about the handoff a little bit, is right now in the handoff portion, I got it broken down into 4 things, and that's the greet, the introduction, the inquisition, if you will, and then the handoff. You know, so when it comes to the handoff, we go, oh, great, wait, thank you so much for all the information you gave me today. I think I've got everything I need. I'm going to get this information over to my partner. He handles all the numbers. So, you know, if this is something that we're interested in, he'll be reaching out in the next 48 hours. And because we're real estate, I try to set a soft appointment, and I say, well, he'll probably want to come out and see the house. Okay, the cool thing about notes is that doesn't exist. You know, and that's one thing that Troy was telling me about, which I really like, because now locations are relevant, and that's what telephones are for. Like, I can call anywhere in the country, and in most cases I do. But so when it comes to the handoff, and then I recommend that they come in and they pick up, and that, because what I'm doing is I'm generating a warm follow-up. and you got a lot of details to go off of, right? So I recommend that they step in and go, hey, what's up? This is Chris. You spoke to my partner the other day about 123 Sycamore Street. Oh, yeah. All right, great. Well, hey, I just got a couple additional questions before I can make you an offer. You got a couple minutes? Yeah, I sure do. Now it's there, and that's why I say it's your turn. The baton is yours. My job, I'm out, right? Like literally, I'm out. And I do that because I don't want, like, this isn't really much, I'll help people, but it's, you know, I want to like draw a line. Like now it's in your world. Now your skill creates the deal, not my notes, you know?
So one of the big questions would be to that person that you're talking to acquiring the cell.
Exactly.
So when you transfer, you do the handoff, I guess in the notes that come with the lead,
Yeah.
there why is there
Exactly.
to be able to use as to close the deal?
Yeah, so like on a motivated seller, like I have conditions for each one currently in our current model to be qualified as each of the things. So the motivated seller, we have to know the condition of the property, we have to know why they're considering selling, and we have to build strong rapport and do our handoff properly. So those are the three things that we have to get for that. And then like I make them ask one more question. So don't like, why consider selling? Oh, you know, I'm just getting old. Oh, how has that affected you? Like just ask, one question about it. I gotta go, don't go crazy, don't press them too hard, but just hit them with it. You know, oh man, I fell off a ladder last week. Man, I'll tell you, that's a motivation. You know, someone that just really almost died a week earlier, they're like, my wife needs me out of this place. It's 2 stories, I fell down the stairs, etc. You know what I mean? So I always try to get them to go one step further. It's a good point though. And the other thing is too, like we're always being trained. You know, so just to let you guys know, I mean, I run the company, you guys, like I'm your concierge. Right? I'm amazing on Facebook. I've got 2 phones, so I try to keep everything to like Facebook Messenger. But if you guys are ever like, Nick, what's this lead say? This doesn't make sense. You need to ask this question. Why wasn't this done? And I'm just letting you guys know because that happens, right? You know, I mean, we're not perfect. We're going to make mistakes, but we're also recover immediately. Call this lead back. Find out this answer. You know what? We clean up our messes too because we want to get better. And so if you guys ever have feedback, we can spin and train on a dime, which is why me and Troy are about to create this program.
Can you finish up on the numbers that you were starting out?
Yeah, sorry, so it was 11% contact ratio and then 11 to 13% lead generation. And then out of those, we're finding that I would say roughly, you know, 15 to 20% of those are motivated sellers.
So you're taking if you're taking 500 people, 11% is going to be 55, and 11% of that's going to be 6.
Right, sure.
So it's 6 out of 500.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a good point. So our average lead gen right now is 3 to 6 leads a week. Is basically, you know, what we're kind of averaging in. Now I say average, right? We see some people at 1 to 2, and then we see other people at 10 to 12. You know, I mean, it's really all over the place, but we're kind of right nestled in there. I mean, you can tell when this works in your area after the first month. Now the thing about what you guys are doing is it's much different. So, you know, calling on people's houses happens all the time. You know, I really imagine the conversation that we're going to construct is going to be to a lot more keener of an individual willing to make this happen. Does that make sense? Everything I've learned about what Troy's been teaching me is that these numbers aren't going to be relevant. Don't forget, right now I'm calling in a world of calls, you know, and of like people that are much worse than me. That like my real edge is that other people do call, they're just not as good as us. You know, that's really my edge. And most of them are foreign. Every investor I talk to says they pay someone overseas. And, you know, and I've got foreign people working for me, and I'll tell you, even though we pay them 1/3 of what we should someone, they work half as fast as they should, every time. And it's okay. It's still saving you money. Because trust me, I got some working for me, and it drives me bananas that some things take him 7 hours, yet me 1. But even in those 7, he's still way cheaper than anyone else I got. You know, so it's a unique toss-up that we make. Yeah. What's that?
A man is worth his price.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is why I decided to start my wages at 15, which is a little crazy.
When you transfer the notes to the agent or whoever, do you also send them a copy of the recording so they can listen to it?
We don't at the moment. You know, I don't have automation set up for that, but I'm open to it.
So you're saying you have a list of 1,000, you skip trace them, so maybe there's 700.
Yeah.
And your team will call throughout that week 6 different times. And at the end of the week, you'll be done with that campaign?
At the end of the week, I'll be done with 500 dials using our algorithm. Correct. So the way it would work is, I would say 700 dials would last us about 5 weeks to go through into their entirety. Now, again, our service, there's no contracts. Because I come from the restaurant industry, I also want to earn your business every week, right? It puts me in a mode to perform. I'm not like, yeah, I got these guys for a year, man, time to go to Costa Rica. No, it's let's do this. Every week I'm like, what are the stats at? What's the performance? How are we doing? What's going on out there? And literally, just like everything else, it's all a numbers game. When my leads drop down to 6%, I lose 3 clients. When I'm at 15%, which we see, 2, I gain 8. It's literally just as cyclical as everything else in this world when it comes to numbers. And so it keeps me in a hunger position as well. Like, I'm here to please you guys.
So you're saying, so if a person's not buying 1,000 leads a time, then they can't use your service?
No, and I'll call on anything. But I recommend we start with 1,000 only because it yields best results. So like some people give me 150 numbers. Now that's really hard for me to go through in a week for 500 dials. So like there's one guy who was like, here's 150. And it's like, that's hard to dial through. So I'm like, well, if you want to like use a week, we should at least start with probably 350 phone numbers. And then, go from there. I'm learning because it's kind of like the law of diminishing returns. So when we start with the big pool, like if we start with 2,000, let's say 1,500, 1,500 phone numbers, it feels like it takes a long time to go through that. You throw 500 at me, I feel like we're done in 2 weeks. And it's like that, it's that pickup contact ratio, you know what I mean? It's like whenever we get down to a smaller number, for some reason it snowballs so fast when completion, as fast as we get it knocked out. Because with the 10% contact rate, we're knocking 50 people off technically a week, So 50 people, so then it goes down to, 450 or, whatever it might be, and then it keeps dwindling from there.
It's not your numbers, like we give you, you said 500,000, 1,500. The price that you charge now, what Troy was saying is that you give 500, it's $200.
Yeah, that's correct.
A week for 500 calls.
For 500 calls, yeah.
Dials.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily for each person, it's 500 total.
It's 500 total, right.
And if we do 1,000, it's 1,000.
A week. No, yeah, if we do $1,000 a week, it just goes up to $400. Everything just doubles. Right now, I don't have like the combo discount plan in.
I'm just trying, if we, instead of 500, we get 1,000, we got $1,000, is that gonna be double the price?
Double the price, yeah.
Yes, that's what you get double the calls for double the price.
That's correct, yeah. Everything just doubles out, yeah, at this point. Yeah, it's definitely been interesting. And like for instance, now some people, they give me a huge list and they want it done faster. I'm also exploring that. I mean, I don't have to call everybody 6 times, right? I mean, I can control how the algorithm works. So I have this one client I just brought on. We're actually calling 33,000 phone numbers a month for him. And that's a lot. That I'm very excited, as you can imagine. But we're calling 33,000, so he's buying all these leads, and we're not calling them 6 times. Because I can't call through 33,000 phone numbers if I call them 6 times. So I'm knocking him down to 3. I mean, I like to call 6 because that's really being thorough. But, you guys don't have to be that thorough. It really all depends on you. So I'm thinking about kind of creating like, you just want us to call twice? I mean, technically it's your money. I'm working for you. It's just kind of my system.
So it would be, what we want to do is close. So if knocking it down from 6 to 3, you get less closing that. And how would you know that you're only going to do 3 instead of 6 and get the same kind of ratio?
Oh, I wouldn't, but that's why I would put the decision. That's why I would make the recommendation and be like, what do you want me to do? Well, you're smart because you're like, I want the result. But a lot of people are too busy thinking about how much they're paying me weekly and not how much they can return weekly. Does that make sense? I try to flip a lot of my clients. People like $200 a week. They don't even say that's a lot. They just do whatever they do. But it's like, man, like one thing I suggest is I come across retail leads. So I suggest everyone partner up with the realtor and sell the retail leads to the realtor and pay for my service. I'm gonna come up with at least 2 retail. You can imagine how many people want, like we call it full price, like it's a negative thing in the real estate world, but of course people want full price for their house, right? What are we talking about? So if you can imagine how many people we come across that say, I want full price. Well, then I go, well, do you have a realtor you work with? Are you a realtor? Go get your license for $400. Make $6,000, will you? You know, I mean, if you really think about what $200 a week is, which a lot of people don't, it's $10,400 a year. I can work for you for 52 weeks a year for $10,400. That's crazy if you think about it.
I have a question now, Shaman. When do you and Troy think you'll be ready to offer your services to note investors?
To no callers?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, no sellers.
you know, really, I'll say this. The guy I'm going to give, my best guy that we're going to be working with here, I trained him 3 weeks ago. He's never been in real estate or anything. He is my highest lead producer in cold calling for what we're doing now. And I've actually just promoted him to what I call my director of industrial growth. Because if I taught him a world that I've spent the last 2 years in, and he did incredible his first week, second, and he's just compounding. So to answer your question, I trained this guy in 3 hours. So I imagine that as soon as we can meet, it's probably 7 days out from that. You know, because I find cold calling just to be very simple. I mean, like, I think it's one of those things where as long as we know what to say, we're going to say it the right way. You know, because it's really, the phone's like how you say it, making sure we're saying the right things. It's really interesting. It's like being great with the hammer, but yet you're lucky enough to use that hammer on everything. You know, I think when it says, you know, when you're a hammer, you seem to think the world is full of nails. You know, lucky for us, like with the phone, it kind of relates. Any questions?
Well, my only comment was, when you throw around the 10,000 a year or whatever, try hiring a salesperson for that. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, right.
So I think the cost is really somewhat, still relative. But, I mean, it's such a small amount that it doesn't matter.
Totally. No, I totally agree. I totally agree. And that's why it's like, you know, I try to tell you, this is a numbers game. Like, I really recommend people give us a month, you know? But they can get they get antsy. Like, it'll be like Monday, any leads yet? Like, and the truth is, yeah, we got them. The VA just hasn't logged in yet to send them to you, you know? But it's like, you know, they're all going to be there because it is a quick return. So we almost spoil some. I had one client that we signed up, and he got 13 leads his first day. And then, and like I said, our average is 3 to 6. That's still our average, you know? So the next week he got 8, which is amazing still, right? And he goes, Nick, I only got 8, what happened? And I was like, I swear, and it's okay, like, that's not even like a bad thing. It's just, it's funny, right? Because the truth is, I get it. Yeah, he got 13 on his first day. I'd say this. And then he's like, you know, it's just an interesting thing, you know, what happens when you get good at producing them. You know, the whole world changes. You know, so it's been fun. Any other questions?
Yeah, I'm just, my mind now is like, I understand cold calling.
Sure.
And calling leads, because I used to operate a business and I had to do it every day.
Sure.
So, but at the same time, a lot of people in here, a couple of us anyway, are kind of new at this no business. So we're trying to figure out how can we do this the right way financially to maybe scale up. And you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So start here and then by the end of 3
Move.
months, we should be at the in my mind, just the $200 a week or whatever. I mean, I would like to be $200 a week and actually getting
Leads.
closed deals. Who wouldn't want that?
Yeah, right, sure.
You know what I'm saying? In my
Yeah.
mind, I'm just trying to say, how can I squeeze it? How can I make this?
Well, you know, I'm glad you brought that up. So my program, like, there's no commitments. I mean, you guys decide to come on, I work 1 week a month. Doesn't bother us at all. It's literally as easy as whether you pay or not. You know, I mean, that's it. Like, Nick, I wanna take 3 weeks off. Great. See you in 3 weeks. I want to do this. Like, and that's what I think is really cool. If you got $200 a month budget, I'll call for 1 week. And and if you guys, you know, may be new, that may be right. You know, work those leads. Take the next 3 weeks. Figure it out. Problem solve. I can tell you, some people hire me and then stop, and then come back after a month because they're in the weeds. They're in the leads weeds, if you will. There's a lot going on. I've had 3 people stop and restructure their wholesaling ventures and then come back. Just around kind of what we do. Because we are different. It's not like, we're not like direct mail where people are like, oh my God, my house is burning down. It's a different kind of lead. Still closable, just different. Yeah. Nationwide, yeah. I'm the only person in Phoenix. You know, I mean, everyone else, you know, I made a post on Facebook hiring people $12 to $15 an hour. And I had some really talented friends come out of the woodwork that I've known for a long time. I was really impressed.
You might get some out of this room.
It happens. It happens. Anything else?
Any other questions? Anybody? All right, let's give Nick a hand, guys.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.